welcome to the Monday, November 18th, 2024 West Fargo City Commission. I call the meeting to order, and I'd request that you join the commission in a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Present.
Present.
Here.
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 Let the record show that all commissioners are present for the Monday, November 18th meeting. Next order of business is to approve the order of the agenda. It has been distributed in your packets, commissioners.
Motion to approve.
Commissioner Zundell moves to approve. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner Jorgensen seconds. We have a motion and a second to approve the order of the agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next order of business is to approve of the minutes of November 4th. They have been distributed and they are in your packets.
Motion to approve.
Commissioner Olson moves to approve. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner Anderson seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of November 4th as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next order is the building permits. The building permits have been distributed and are in your packet.
Move to approve.
Commissioner Anderson moves to approve. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner Zundell seconds. We have a motion and a second to approve the building permit as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion ordered. Next order of business is the consent agenda. We have items A through G.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion from Commissioner Jorgensen, a second by Commissioner Olson. It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda, items A through G. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We're now in the regular agenda. The regular agenda, item number 1 is a public comment period. Members of the public are allowed 2 minutes and 30 seconds to address the city commissioners. Madam Secretary, do you have any written requests for public comment? Thank you. We are now closing public comment, and we move on to the next order of business. Item number 2. Item number 2 is a public hearing. Items each will adjourn out of regular meeting into the public hearing. A24-2 is the Sand Hills 8th edition, request for approval of zone change from agriculture, light industrial, and P to
Public.
and public, all right. It's the first reading of the rezoning ordinance. Aaron Nelson, Director of Planning, will be presenting. The second order of business is A24-30, Meadow Ridge 18th edition, a request for approval of a planned unit development. It's the first reading of the rezoning ordinance. Item A, please. Good evening, Mr. Nelson, and welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioner President Dardis and Commissioners. So I'll be speaking to item 2A specifically, and then we'll be looking for action on item 2A separate from item 2B, or 2B. So just to make that clarification. So item 2A is a request for a public hearing and request for approval of a first reading of a rezone ordinance. This application package also includes an associated subdivision plat. However, final approval of the plat will take place at a future commission meeting in conjunction with the second reading and final adoption of the rezone ordinance that I'll be talking about. But because the rezone ordinance is tied to the subdivision, I will be presenting both of these items here tonight, and I'm happy to answer any questions on either of those two applications, the rezone or the subdivision. So with that, the subject property that we're talking about here tonight includes 43 acres of land located west of 26th Street Northwest and north of I-94 in West Fargo, as shown on the aerial image that I've pulled up on the screen here. The The applicant includes Ocho Indy LLC and RJR LLC, represented tonight by Matt Prochniak of Moore Engineering, should you have any questions for the applicant. The purpose of this application is to establish development entitlements for future industrial development of the property. The entitlements requested include the rezoning and a subdivision replat. This is a follow-up application to the Sandhills 6th and 7th additions and rezones, which were approved by the City Commission earlier this year. Since that time, the applicant has acquired most of the individual properties within the original Meadowbrook Park subdivision. Some of the commissioners may recall from earlier this year, the Meadowbrook Park subdivision was the original subdivision plat from the 1950s that was platted when this area was still in the county. There were a number of single-family homes that were constructed, but for the most part, most of that subdivision remained vacant over the decades. And so the proposed subdivision here continues to clean up some of the original lot lines and roads rights of way. However, it is, I will note that there are three parcels within, on the north side of Gress Avenue that were original to the Meadowbrook Park subdivision, which are not included in the subject property here, that will remain. Two of the three parcels have single-family homes on them, which will remain. So the proposed subdivision plat would plat the property into 11 lots on 2 blocks. I'll just pull up the subdivision plat here for reference. The plat includes small portions of right-of-way dedication for 26th Street Northwest, 4th Avenue and 3rd Avenue Northwest, as well as right-of-way vacation of Park Boulevard, most of Gress Avenue, and then remnant portions of right-of-way west of 30th Avenue. Because this subdivision plat would result in the dead ending of Gress Avenue, there is a cul-de-sac turnaround easement that would be platted on the dead end of Gress Avenue. Gress Avenue would remain in place adjacent to those original Meadowbrook Park lots in order to provide continued access to those properties. And then the proposed rezoning would rezone the property from a mix of A, agricultural, LI, light industrial, and P, public facilities, to LI, light industrial for the privately owned lots, and to P, public facilities for the city-owned lots, which contain a regional stormwater pond and a lift station. And so those are the areas in green on the zoning exhibit here. City ordinance requires 5% public land dedication or fee in lieu for the area being subdivided unless previously provided. And so portions of this, of the subject property have previously provided that land dedication. However, there are portions that have not. And so there will be a public dedication that will be part of the subdivision. The Park District has indicated no need for parkland within this area, and as such, the applicant will be providing fee in lieu of land dedication. A draft dedication agreement is included in your packet, which outlines the details of that dedication. Utility services are existing within 4th Avenue Northwest and are currently under construction within 30th Street and 3rd Avenue Northwest within the existing public improvement project that was created with the Sandhills 6th edition. And then part of the overall improvements here would be an expansion of the regional stormwater pond in this area, which is located on Lot 7, Block 2 of the proposed subdivision. And in accordance with existing policy, the city would purchase the additional land needed for the expansion of that pond, and then in turn would special assess the purchase cost back to the improvement district for this development. A draft subdivision improvement agreement is also included in your packet, which outlines those details. To date, staff has received no comments regarding the proposed rezone or subdivision plat, and overall, staff finds the proposed subdivision and rezoning to be consistent with city plans and ordinances as outlined in the staff report. At their February 13th, 2024 meeting, the West Fargo Planning and Zoning Commission voted to recommend approval of the proposed application. And so with that, the requested action tonight, again, is to hold the public hearing and then to approve the first reading of the rezoning ordinance. No action, again, is being requested in relation to the proposed subdivision plat at this time. Consideration of the final plat approval will take place again in conjunction with the second reading of the rezoning ordinance, which would likely take place at the second meeting in December. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have for staff on the rezoning or the subdivision application here.
Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Nelson? Commissioner Jorgensen.
So I have a piece of property out in this area, and who's responsible for, like, the houses that are uninhabited right now for tearing those down, or what is the status on that?
So the applicant has acquired many of the existing homes that are vacant currently. I believe at least one of the homes is currently inhabited and will continue to be so. I guess I'll defer to the applicant on the status of the kind of the second house that's remaining out there. But as for the other houses out there, the applicant has taken ownership of those properties, and my understanding is their intent would be to, at some point, demolish those houses in order to redevelop the area for the intended industrial uses.
Yeah, that, and then the area around 30th Avenue, I mean, it's full of equipment. Is that, I mean, it's starting to build in, they're hauling more and more equipment in there.
Yeah, and I believe some of that equipment out there is part of the reconstruction project for the improvements. I think the underground utilities were installed here this past construction cycle, and the remainder of the construction project would take place during the next year's construction cycle. So, but again, I'll defer to the applicant on.
Sure, no, I understand.
that.
And so when are the roads possibly going in here?
In 2025.
Okay. I mean, I know there's been talk about developing that, and it needs to be cleaned up.
Mhm.
I mean, if we're gonna try to bring in businesses from out of town, it needs to be cleaned up out there.
Yep.
Any additional questions, Mr. Nelson? Nothing? This is an actionable item, Commissioners.
Public hearing first.
All right.
Yep.
We now close the regular agenda and we move into a public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to speak to item A24-2 Sand Hills 8th Edition? A request for approval of a zone change from agricultural, light industrial, and public facilities. Is there anyone that would like to speak to this item? Again, is there anyone that would like to speak to item A24-2, the Sand Hills 8th Edition request for approval of a zoning change? Hearing none, the public hearing is closed. Commissioners, this is an actionable item.
Move to approve.
Commissioner Olson moves to approve. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner Jorgensen seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve A24-2 Sand Hills 8th Edition, a request for a zoning change from agricultural, light industrial, and public facilities to light industrial and public facilities. Is there any further discussion? Commissioner Sundell.
Am I allowed to vote on this? If there's park dedication included in it?
I think at this point you can just recuse yourself.
I can recuse myself on
Yes,
this vote?
you can.
Okay,
You can.
thank you.
Madam Secretary, for the record, Commissioner Zundell recuses herself. Okay, is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Item B is A24-30, Meadow Ridge 18th Edition, a request for approval of a planned unit development. It's a first reading of a rezoning ordinance. Leslie's here. Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Commissioners. Welcome to my little PowerPoint of the Perry Center. It's the Plan Unit Development and Meadow Ridge. This is our first test of the new PUD ordinance, and as an amended existing PUD, the application process is the same as a new application. So, coming before you here, I'll give you a little bit of orientation. As you know, the Perry Center does exist. It's currently two single-story structures adjoining 45th Street, 7th Avenue, and Meadow Ridge Parkway. It also joins the boundaries between West Fargo, which you can see here in the dark line, and the city of Fargo over in this direction. So with the area that we're focusing on this evening is these two currently platted parcels. The Perry Center does own this other parcel, which is Lot 3 of the Meadow Ridge 15th Edition. This application only focuses on Lot 1 and Lot 2. So I want to make that distinction. So at the present time, the two structures which I mentioned previously have been functioning to serve as a maternity home. There are 9 residential group homes setting for young ladies to support them in their maternity journey. In addition, on the other side of the lot line, there are offices which have, in the previous PUD, were intended for supporting this use, but also gave the latitude with a long list of available other resources for the office use. So these two structures have been single-story, and the intention in the application is to replace these two structures with a single structure that's 2-story and will be combined. There'll be a 2-phase construction, so this side will be, I believe, the first one to be demolished and rebuilt. The second phase will include the second part of the building and the central atrium constructed. In order to do this, they have to replat. It's not permitted currently for a building to be constructed across a lot line. So the proposal, which we can see in the detailed development plan also submitted by the applicant, is this in its entirety. So essentially, the only thing changing is a very modest footprint adjustment, and the parking will stay the same, which is, I should also mention, constrained also by an underlying gas line easement that's 65 width, which really dominates the site. And so the use of this site is very efficient in what is being proposed in the reuse and the readaptability of this parcel. So the uniqueness of this structure in itself too, in our application process is, and that we need to further detail, is that there is a fence that exists on this parcel that serves the daycare that is serviced on the adjoining lot, but because it is an integral use to that operation, we allow that by our zoning ordinance. There's a little bit of a shed that crosses the property line. Staff is in support of that. There's also an existing garage, which is also appropriate in staff's estimation. So for your consideration, these are the elevations and facade treatments proposed by the applicant. 2-story structure, 34 bedrooms. The first floor will be containing offices within the structure, as you can see if you look into your packet, with integral offices that will support this use. There's communal living area and the like. So an elevated appearance standard for this application. For the PUD amendment considerations, the applicant had proposed a lesser standard of parking than our ordinance, and which staff supports. This had been approved in the previous application. The users of the maternity home do not have access typically to a personal vehicle. So what this means is they have access to the bus that is adjoining the property. The center operation standard do provide the residents the opportunity to have transportation to their medical appointments and such. And the length of time that they have a proven track record of serving these ladies has proven that a lesser standard is acceptable. So on site, we find that there's 32 vehicles, but the requirement by our little math equation is a 0.75 is perfectly appropriate. Now, interestingly enough, our rear yard setback in this location is 25 feet. So somehow in the construction process, it shrunk a little bit to 23.85 feet. We're not going to make them move the foundation. We feel like it is appropriate, and also the place of the PUD to have that flexibility to allow that reduction of 25 feet. In addition, standards that have been met by this application, the boulevard trees that were previously not planted on the north side of the property line, they're willing to plant. And as I mentioned further, the 6-foot fence that serves the daycare, while that typically wouldn't be allowed in the redevelopment overlay district, which I should also mention is on top of this site, it is allowed if it's integral and is approved as part of the PUD. So we would not have them remove it. So the detailed development plan, base zoning district R3, the use in our ordinance, we were promoting the social services. Planning and Zoning Commission suggested strongly that we align that social service use with maternity home. We responded to that and included that language in the ordinance before you. The retracement plat is again going forward. And we're asking for approval of the concept plan, detailed development plan ordinance at this reading. They would like to start construction yet this year if the weather is as nice as it and holds out. So today we are asking, so I'd like to hold a public hearing, approve the first reading of the PUD rezoning ordinance for the Meadow Ridge, 18th edition. Our applicants, Nathaniel Douglas, the owner and operator, is here this evening. If you wish to hear from him and have specific questions for his operations, I would suggest you invite him up. And then also Dylan Nur, the project manager and I think designer of the majority of the project, is here as well. And I'm here available for questions.
Thank you.
I'd like,
Questions?
yeah, for Nathaniel.
That would be this gentleman.
So, thank you. So you're gonna tear these buildings down, just bulldoze them, right?
Correct.
Can you please reach out to the fire department, the bomb squad, and the SWAT team? They'd be excellent training facilities for those 3 individuals. Just give them a week, tell them, get in there, get out. But they're always looking for businesses, houses, opportunity. When they send guys in, they don't know nothing about it. It'd be a huge training site for the 3 of those businesses, or 3 of those operations.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, they'd get in and get out, so it's unfortunate when we tore down the houses in West Fargo, it was through a FEMA grant, so they couldn't touch them. So if you'd be willing to do that, I mean,
Yeah, the east building will be occupied with moms in there, but the west building is vacant, so that would be great.
no, they'd be more than receptive. I mean, I don't know if PD'd have any use for them, so.
Love it.
Thank you, Commissioner Jorgensen. Any additional questions? Commissioner Olson?
This is more for Leslie, I
Okay.
believe. So basically, we're replatting it, that diagonal lot line is gonna be basically erased.
That's correct.
And that's the whole purpose of this whole thing.
Well, also the density increased
Right.
dramatically.
Yeah,
And the crossing of the property line, right, and then the 2-story structure. So there was no indication in the original approval that a 2-story structure was allowable. So even if they wanted to do a 2-story structure and they had a ballroom on top or a gymnasium, that's not approvable. It was the volume and the trifecta of all of those things that brought us before you.
okay, thank you.
Any additional questions, Commissioner? At this time, we gavel out of the regular agenda and we move into a public hearing. The public hearing is to hear from the public on A24-30 Meadow Ridge 18th edition, a request for approval of a planned unit development and a rezoning of an ordinance. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak to this item? Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak to this item? Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak to A24-30 Meadow Ridge 18th edition, a request for approval of planned unit development and rezoning ordinance? Change. Hearing none. The public hearing is closed. We're now back in the regular agenda. This is an actionable item, Commissioners.
I motion to approve.
Commissioner Jorgensen moves to approve. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner Zundell seconds. I have a motion and a second to approve A24-30 Meadow Ridge 18th edition, a request for approval of a planned unit development and the first reading of the rezoning ordinance. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 3, SAG Award presentation. Mr. Dan Hansen, City Engineer for the City of West Fargo. This is an informational item, no action required. Good evening, Mr. Hansen, and welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner President, Artis, and Commissioners. This is something that I am proud to bring in front of you. It's not often that we get to toot our own horn, but I'm probably going to do that. And with me is Benji Schwartz, right-of-way manager, and Kayla Volness, our engineering office managers. They are really the architects of this and the stars of the show tonight. They basically worked with Pro West and Associates to create a GIS platform to track our permitting process. Prior to this, they had everything was done through paper, faxed in drawings, things of that nature, and it was just very cumbersome. And there was already a program that we used that we said, you know, we can actually make this better, or they said we can make this better. And so they started working with them, and they were able to put together a pretty outstanding permitting solutions platform. I do have a PowerPoint that I'm going to go through. And I'm going to break a lot of the PowerPoint rules by reading some of it because they are a lot more up to speed on the details of this. But overall, basically, the permitting solution, it allows the contractors in the area, when they're going to do work in town, they can log on to this permitting solution, and they can fill out and apply for the permits so they have to register for it. One thing that does is it helps us know who's working in town, making sure that they've got the proper liability insurance and things of that nature that we need. Also, it helps us from any work that's being done by these utility companies or something like that from falling through the cracks. In the past, it wasn't uncommon for them to submit a permit application to Public Works or to whoever, thinking that's where it needs to go. This really centralizes all of those permits. So for right-of-way excavation permitting, sidewalk, driveway, commercial civil site permitting, residential civil site permitting, all of that can be done through this platform. So again, why a new permitting solution? We really needed to upgrade the process because it was very cumbersome. The existing system, though it was somewhat digital, it was based on an online form which applicants filled out and attached PDFs. Again, it wasn't uncommon for us to get a fax with a hand sketch of what was being proposed. So there was a lot of when we get a permit in, there was a lot of work needing to be done sometimes to identify exactly what they were actually doing. So again, the city's engineering department considered its options for the technology platform on which a new permitting system would be built. After looking at multiple permitting softwares, which would incur an annual charge, the team looked into the city's existing GIS software along with Survey 123, which was already available, and it would meet the needs of the department. So they did take a look to say, hey, something needs to change with this current system. They looked at other options, but those options typically came with a program that you would have to buy and pay a yearly fee. With this new solution, there is no yearly fee. This is something that was basically worked on with Pro West Solutions, and our GIS department collaborated in creating this, and it's something that is ongoing, and it does not cost us a yearly fee to do this. So that has definitely saved us some money. So how users register, basically the contractor just logs on, they fill out their applications. Engineering receives an automatic email notifying them that there is an application that's awaiting approval. They can log on to the dashboard, take a look at it, verify that what is submitted meets the criteria that is needed, and then if all of that is correct, they can approve the application, and upon approving it, that will actually automatically send out an email with the signed contractor number for the contractor company. So it's that part is all automated. Again, the contractors that are applying for it, they have to fill out a little bit more detail than what they have had to in the past. The contractor uses the address search bar to input the exact location of the work. So since it's a GIS-based platform, they can basically go in, click on the site saying, here's where we're going to be doing work. The other thing that this has allowed is, in the past, a contractor would say, we're going to be putting in cable on 7th Avenue or something like that. it would get approved, and they would go out there and they would meet in the field and try to figure out where it's going to fit in. Now, with everything being GIS-based, we can take a look and see where existing utilities are and have a little bit more thought process in approving the permit to let the contractors know there is availability for you to be in this corridor, and here's the best location for it, so that way we can try to preserve as much open right-of-way as we can for future endeavors. So again, after they submit their application, the series of emails are sent off to appropriate staff and the applicant, letting them know that we've approved it, or that we've received it. So after that, the appropriate staff takes a look at the emails stating that the permit's been submitted. Engineering staff then reviews it, and they'll either approve it or deny it. And then once that happens, this will actually send another email to the applicant giving them directions on how to proceed. So that's the approving and rejecting process. And then the next part that actually is very streamlined is when we get into active construction. The contractor's responsible for giving the engineering a call to set up time to meet in the field. We still do those field meetings. And then when the work area is approved, the permit becomes active. So the permit's not active until we've met with them and agreed on where they're going to be putting it installing it. Engineering staff periodically stops out to inspect, takes pictures. Those pictures are actually attached through the GIS platform to the permit. So during construction and in perpetuity, you can go back and click on that permit and see what did they do, where did they do it, who did it, instead of it being located in some file in-house. The other part that this does is it also allows staff to input whatever fees that are needed to close out the permit, because a lot of times when they have an open permit, there's a cost per day, and in the past, we would have to go and physically calculate out how many days it's been, send an invoice, things of that nature. This will allow staff to just basically take a look at it, enter in, here's how much that it costs, and then emails automatically are sent out to the staff and the contractor, and then the permit will then be sent to finance for the invoice to be sent out to the contractor. So once again, the process is very streamlined, saving time and making efficiencies in that right-of-way department. And then again, once the permit's closed, it's kept on the historical site that can be accessed by staff. Here's an interactive review of the dashboard. This is basically 3 years of only right-of-way excavation permits. So at any given time, commissioners can ask us, hey, what are the fees that we've collected on different permits, whether it's the sidewalk ones, the civil site, or again, in this case, it would be the right-of-way permits. And you can filter out however you want to filter it out. So there's automatic data that we can get to provide more information to the commissioners making decisions. And again, you can see this GIS-based platform. It shows all of the different locations of the permits that we've received. So, and again, once we do have a number of open permits, you can imagine during the construction season, there's quite a few active open permits. In the past, it used to be a stack of papers that Benji would have on his desk, and he'd have to go through, because he's going to go and he's going to take a run through all the different active open permits, making sure that there isn't open trenches and that it's signed properly. And he'd have to take all these papers and plan his route according to how he knew the city. Now he can take a look at a map and actually create a very efficient round that he can make to go and review all these open permits. So it's really increased the time that it takes for him to realize here's where I'm going, and once he's out there, he's a lot more efficient in making his rounds. So that has saved a lot of times. And here's where it gets pretty exciting is we worked with ProWest, again, to create that. Esri is the platform, the GIS platform that we use. And after the solution was created, ProWest actually did a case study on this particular solution that Benji and Kayla in our GIS department created. And they did a write-up, which made it into a trade magazine, to which Esri actually took that and said, we're going to do a case study on this as well. Basically republished, put their flavor to it and republished it. And it actually, it made their national trade magazine, which is quite an honor to be featured in that. It created quite a buzz in the locating and the permitting world, to the point where today Benji's had calls from Minnetonka and as far away as Calgary, people calling, asking, how did you do this? How does it work? What does it do? And it's been something that a lot of other cities have taken a look at. And again, this was all really created in-house, and so we're very proud of that. So they actually, after Esri had submitted that case study, it actually received the 2024 GIS SAG Award. I'd like to say that's the Screen Actors Guild, is what I first thought.
That's what I thought when.
Apparently,
I saw it
it's
on
the
agenda.
Special Achievements in GIS Award. And because we don't live in that world, we don't realize how big of a deal this is. But the GIS staff that we have, they were astounded that we were able to secure this award. It is an amazing thing to do, and one of the slides shows how exclusive this award is. And so we already had GIS staff attending their conference, and so GIS accepted the award that is over there. I'm assuming it was on the other chair, so Kayla's holding it up for us all to take a look at. We proudly display that back in the engineering department. Basically, what this slide is showing is the president of Esri. He's the one that actually takes a look through all of the submittals and chooses the awards that are going to be chosen. And he emailed to Travis Gentry, our GIS manager, and said, "Congratulations, we've chosen your solution to win this award." And if you read the email that Travis sent out to Kayla and Benji, he's like, "Holy cow! Check this out. We won this award, and this is a very big deal." So we can now say that we have Global Solutions award-winning staff on hand here, and it was just quite an honor. This is basically just a screenshot from the article that was put out that has a green arrow next to West Fargo's award. And this part here is what is really shows how much of a special award that this is. Esri, the global leader in location intelligence, presented to the city of West Fargo with the Special Achievement in GIS Award July 17th of 2024 at the annual Esri User Conference. The number of nominations, Esri staff submitted literally thousands of nominations each year, with only about 150 to 170 that are actually selected. So we are in rarefied air with this. And again, what makes it even cooler is the president of Esri, Jack Dangermond, he personally reviews and selects the recipients. And the SAG Award recognizes organizations that demonstrate vision, leadership, hard work, and innovation in their use of Esri's Geographic Information Systems technology. And I wanted to just bring this forth to pat staff on the back. I had nothing to do with this. This was all them. They're the stuntmen that make you look good on the big screen, and they are to be commended for this. So with that, I brought them forth. I'd love for you to ask them some questions so they can come up here and answer them. But if not, I just wanted to give them some special recognition here.
Benji and Kayla, why don't you stand up, please? These are the two folks that Dan's been talking about. Congratulations. Job well done. I want to read one sentence from the president. This award is given to user sites around the world to recognize outstanding work with GIS technology. Your organization stood out from hundreds of thousands of other applications, hundreds of thousands all across the world. So congratulations to the two of you, and of course to Travis as well for your collaborative efforts in making West Fargo's permitting and tracking better. Thank you so very much. Anything else, Ed?
No, thank you very much. I
All
appreciate
right,
the time.
This is for information only. We now turn to item number 4, which is again Mr. Dan Hansen, City Engineer for the City of West Fargo. and this is the Highway Safety Improvement Program, turn lane realignments at various locations. And the purpose of this discussion is to create a project number 2284 and approve a task order for engineering services. Mr. Hanson.
Thank you, Commissioner, President Dardis, and Commissioners. It was back in 2021 that the city actually applied for and was awarded a Highway Safety Improvement Program, HSIP grant, to realign 3 intersections left turning lanes. The grant covers 90% of the construction costs that were submitted at the time, and the project's expected to be bid in January of 2026 and to be constructed in the summer of 2026. This is, I've been here in the past with other intersections where we've realigned the left turn lanes. Basically, to where they're offset, they will eventually, after construction, be head-to-head. So that way, people that are stopped at the stoplight in a left turning lane situation can see around the car in front of them to give them better safety when they're making their decision to move. And also, it allows that flashing left arrow that we have on a lot of our signals. 3 intersections were submitted. The intersections of 9th Street East and 19th Avenue East, 32nd Avenue East and 4th Street East, and then Cheyenne Street and 38th Avenue West. I do have in here the project location map, which I can just show for the public to see where those locations are. And with that, we were looking to enter into a contract with Bolton and Mink. They are the current engineer of record for the project that we're doing, similar to this on Veterans and 9th Street next year that will be under construction. This is very similar work to that. So staff recommendation is to create the project number 2284 and approve a task order number 6 with Bolton and Mink in the amount of $63,360. And with that, I would entertain any questions.
Questions for Mr. Hanson?
Move to approve.
Commissioner Olson moves to approve the Highway Safety Improvement Program grant, turn lane realignments, various locations, and create a project number 2284 and approve the task order for engineering services. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Anderson seconds. Then moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Hanson.
Thank you.
Item number 5 is the City Administrator's Report. Call on Mr. Dustin Scott.
We skipped one.
I did.
Brad's appointment.
I have an earlier agenda. My apologies. I'm working off one that I got this morning. Item number 5 is the approval of Commissioner Brad Olson to the Red River Dispatch Authority Board. The purpose of this is the City of West Fargo is entitled to 2 members on the Red River Dispatch with the joint powers agreement that we have. I have been serving as on the Finance Committee as well as on the Executive Committee. And so out of respect for Deputy Mayor Brad Olson and the portfolio he carries on fire and police, I am recommending Mr. Olson to be the second member on the Executive Committee of Red River Dispatch.
I move to appoint Brad
Commissioner
Olson.
Zundel, we'll do it that way. Commissioner Zundel moves to approve Brad Olson to the Red River Dispatch Authority Board. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner Anderson seconds. Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
You had your chance, Brad.
Now, item number 5, City Administrator's Report.
2 number 5s.
You guys are really picky tonight. Mr. Scott.
Good evening. Thank you, Commissioner President Dardis and Commissioners. Yes, there is a correction here. The Administrator's Report is item number 6. Should be listed as item number 6. Really, I've just got a few things here. But before I get into them, I just want to say thank you and commend Mr. Dan Hansen for recognizing 2 outstanding staff that are here before you tonight. I think that's a great opportunity to showcase our talented staff whenever we can, and we simply don't do it often enough. And so again, I just want to briefly thank him. for doing so. I'm going to start with report on some financial related information here, and then I've got a couple things staff related. So first thing, today we submitted our biannual report on the Prairie Dog Fund spending. That is required once every 2 years. So our report today was submitted for the 2022 and 2023 biennium. We received roughly $10.5 million of Prairie Dog funds for that biennium, and we spent all of that money predominantly on 2 regional sewer water projects, one of those being the connection over to the city of Fargo, that sewer transmission line that was installed up on 19th Avenue. The other one was a sewer force main that sends all of our wastewater from the south side of town up to the north side, where it's pumped then into our sewer system that goes to Fargo. There was also a small portion early in '22 where we did move another $1 million to help fund the Cheyenne Street project downtown. That was what allowed us to not special assess that project. So altogether, we spent all of that $10.5 million, actually a little more. We had some left over from the prior biennium. So, but we did submit our report today, so we are hopefully going to get a good review on that, which will make us eligible for the next biennium. And that, of course, is to be determined on how much we will receive for the next biennium. So stay tuned for that. A couple staff related, well, first of all, before I move on, any questions on the Prairie Dog funds? Okay, a couple staff related updates. Number one, our city assessor position. I am excited to announce that we have filled that role of city assessor. We hired Mr. Paul Fracassi, who is currently employed at the county as the Director of Equalization. Prior to working for the county, though, he did spend 9 years with the city of West Fargo in our assessing department. So we are welcoming him back home and are excited to have him. He starts December 2nd. Any questions on the city assessor? Okay, and last, I'm gonna probably catch her a little off guard, but kind of a bittersweet, I'm gonna announce that Friday is Leslie's last day. She accepted a position back closer to home. We're definitely gonna miss her. She's done an outstanding job. She's tackled some unique projects for us in her time here, and you know, most recently the community gardens, where she's been working to move that forward. So, but we're excited for her opportunity to get closer back home, and we'll wish her all the best. So again, her last day will be Friday, and Aaron and Dan will be working to replace that position. So that's all the updates I have for you. Any questions?
Questions for Mr. Scott? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, thank you.
Leslie, I too would like to thank you. In working with planning and zoning, it's been an absolute pleasure. You and Aaron in that department and others, you've done a great job, and thank you for your service to West Fargo.
Can I say a few words?
Please.
I'm never short. So I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for the acknowledgement. Thank you for the opportunity. And thank you to everybody for being so welcoming. It's meant a lot, so.
You'll be missed.
Yes, thank you. And after we're done, I'd like to get a selfie for all of us in the room. So please don't run out to the door after we're done, because I would like to celebrate all of you too as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Are there any non-agenda items that any of the commissioners would like to bring forward? Regarding Mr. Scott's discussion on the Prairie Dog, with all the discussion about some of the bills that are coming forth to the Legislative Council right now, and the session obviously starting in the first of the year, if you run into any of our local legislators, I would encourage you and thank them for the creation of the Prairie Dog, and make sure that it continues. There's some talk about how they're going to deal with the legacy funds. And so any comments from any of you supporting the present policy of the prairie dog funds would be great coming from any of, and all of our city employees, and obviously the commission as well. I'd like to also extend my congratulations to the West Fargo Public School System for 2 victories this weekend. We have 2 state champions with West Fargo kids involved in it, West Fargo Public School kids involved in it. The Horace Hawks obviously won a state championship in football, as did the Cheyenne Mustangs. So congratulations to all those moms and dads and kids and coaches and student managers and city, school administrators that help guide those young people to their victory. Anyone else have any non-agenda item? Is there any correspondence from anyone? Hearing none. Commissioner Anderson,
Move to adjourn.
Commissioner Olson,
Second.
we stand adjourned. Thank you.